Hi everyone, welcome to our second mobile web, or Thursday mobile webs, Web Mobile Thursdays. I can never quite remember the name. I'm Paul Kinlan, I'm a developer advocate at Google. I'm working on Chrome and Chrome for Android. And I'd like to introduce Pete LePage, who is, are you in Mountain View or in New York at the moment?
So I'm in Mountain View this week,
Oh, okay, cool.
enjoying the nice weather and avoiding the lovely snow that's going on.
Oh, wow, cool, sweet.
Yeah.
So we might as well get into it. Yeah, so this week's episode is about what's new in the beta version of Chrome. Chrome is now on M26 on Android. It
Yep.
recently got updated actually twice this last week. We've had a small minor bug fix that's actually gone out. So if you're using the Chrome beta channel at the moment, you should actually just be seeing a new update. And I think it should be available now on the Nexus 7 as well. We had an issue whereby we hadn't actually set the camera permission up properly. We've re-rolled that out, so now you've got access to that, and you'll be able to see that in the bug tracker as well. So it's all pretty cool. It's pretty open. But today we're going to talk about a couple of really interesting topics. Some of the new features that are inside Chrome for Android, the beta M26. The interesting thing about this is what we're going to talk about today really isn't. It's not really available to kind of normal users at the moment, but you guys who are watching this today, you are the cutting edge users and the developers on this platform. So we want to give you a little bit of a preview into what's actually happening. And the two bits that we're going to talk about is the data compression proxy, which has just been basically announced. It's all kind of in Chrome flags. It's not kind of public at the moment. And the second is get user media and kind of WebRTC. I can't actually show you WebRTC at the moment. I couldn't get it working, but we've got some nice little things to kind of show off in between. Like get user media is one of the best ones at the moment. You've finally got access to the camera inside JavaScript, inside your phone. So that's pretty cool, and we're going to kind of show them off today. So without much further ado, I'm going to hand you across to Pete, and Pete's going to tell you a bit about the data compression proxy.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks. So the data compression proxy is something that's brand new to Chrome and is something I think that is pretty exciting. Basically, the data compression proxy reduces the amount of network data that's sent between your device and the remote website that you're asking for. Now, just one thing to call out really fast right off the bat is that it only does this for HTTP sites. If it's a secure connection, we're not going to do anything with it. We're going to let you go to your directly to the server. We're not going to get in the middle of that. But for non-secure connections, basically what happens is that Chrome opens a speedy connection between you and one of the Google data centers. And from there, it starts going out and making the requests for sites. So there's a couple of things that are happening once you've connected to the Google services. As you start going out and making those connections, we're using the new, well, I guess it's not the new, but the speedy connections, as well as the, I'm completely blanking on the name for it right now.
What's it sound
Paul,
like?
do you remember what?
So we
That's what it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
Page speed libraries. Every once in a while. So
Yes.
I'm here in Mountain View. It's 8 o'clock, and it's a little early. I apologize.
With me.
Anyways, it's the open source page speed libraries.
Yeah.
So by using these page speed libraries, there's a couple of things that are going on. Images get optimized automatically. So most images, when developers push them up, they optimize them a little bit, but they don't always remember to optimize them. Sometimes they completely forget. Sometimes they just do a little bit. Well, what the image optimization does is it uses WebP to transcode the images, which uses less bandwidth and shrinks them down while maintaining the same image quality. So your images just get much smaller than what they were before, and they're always optimized. The second thing that happens is there is a set of what we call content-aware compression. So that's things like minification, white space removal, all of that kind of stuff. So taking all of the stuff that, normally you might have a JavaScript file that's this big, and it's now all of a sudden going to be this big. Again, not every developer remembers to minify things, so this makes a pretty big deal. And then the third big advantage that you get out of using this is that you get access automatically to all of Google's safe browsing technologies. So we're making sure that the sites people are going to aren't sites that are spreading malware or phishing sites and all that kind of stuff. So there's really sort of three main advantages, both to consumers and to users. Now, I was playing with this a little bit earlier today on a couple of websites, and you can pull this up, and I know Paul's going to show a demo of this in a minute or two. You can see how much your compression is turned on. So to turn it on, I guess we should start with that first. You need to go into Chrome flags. So if you go into Chrome /whack flags, one of the first items that you'll see there is enable data compression or experimental data compression. So you enable that, restarts Chrome. And then from there, you can start loading pages. Now to see how much stuff changes, open up a new tab and go to Chrome // or whack net dash internals. So when you go to the net dash internals, from there you'll see a link where you can click on bandwidth, and you click on that bandwidth, and it shows you how much data has been saved by using the speedy proxy.
Shall I get that up now on one of our screens?
Yeah, if you can pull that up, that would be really cool. So, it's a really cool way to be able to see what's going on, to see what's happening. It's really fascinating to see. So we were looking at The Verge earlier today, and The Verge had about a 35 or 40%. Paul, do you remember offhand?
Yeah, it's actually 45 because I turned it on just before this talk.
Perfect.
And it's the only request I made, so 45% saving for this session. In
yeah, so like 45% of the bandwidth, right, is down. So what was the total kilobyte size on that page before? It should say up in that box.
I think 1.9 or 1,900 kilobytes.
Yeah, so that's what?
Just over 1.5 meg.
1.9 megs.
Nearly 2 meg.
So nearly 2 megs has been dropped to what?
So it says it's saved 663 kilobytes of that.
So like 1.2 megs or so, It's gone down. Or it's down to 1.2 megabytes. Now, when you're on a nice Wi-Fi or on a 4G connection, okay, 2 megs, not a big deal. But when you're on an edge connection or when you're on anything else, that's pretty significant.
Yep.
This morning I was playing with In Focus from the Atlantic News. And In Focus is one of my favorite pages to read, or I guess I kind of call it a blog. It's a collection of photos that are recent events, photographs from those particular recent events. And this morning when I was looking at it, I got a 65% savings. So I went from almost a 4 meg page download to less than 2 megs. So you can see how much savings you're getting because you're taking all of that data and making it smaller. So not only are you getting advantages in terms of speed increases because you're sending less data over the wire, you're also potentially reducing your mobile bill because all of a sudden you're not spending, or costing 4 megs. And if you're not on an unlimited plan, all of a sudden that's a pretty significant thing.
Yeah.
There's a really great document on this. If you just go up and do a quick search for
as a link as well. So.
Oh, if we've got the link, we can put that up. But Ilya, who's going to be doing a much deeper hangout on this in the next week or so, I believe, just check developers.google.com/live and look for Make the Web Fast. There's a great article, Data Compression Proxy. It goes into all of the nitty-gritty details and worth checking out.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's on the screen at the moment. I suppose, can we just switch across to my screen? And I want to show you some of the stuff just so you can actually see it working in action. So this screen at the moment is my DevTools, which is actually connected to my device, which we saw on the camera before. And just before we came on air, we actually connected the Verge just to see what it looks like. And the great thing about the actual site itself is it looks exactly the same. It doesn't look any different at all. But But this is how you can actually tell whether you're actually in the data compression mode at the time, is that it's gone into speedy mode, and there's the host, method, and path in the colon scheme as the request header, which is different to the normal HTTP request header. That's the kind of the primary indicator to the actual fact that you are running in this data compression mode at least. And that's pretty much it, right? You don't really notice anything else other than the fact that, if there's a cache, it's a caching proxy in between. So the really cool thing as well is if you go back to the site, the data is potentially cached at the Google side of things as well. So the actual refresh itself should be a lot quicker. I just want to show you some of the images because this is the kind of the interesting thing.
Well, you can look at those images, Paul. There's one thing I also wanted to mention for developers. If one of the things that I know a number of developers want to know is, hey, is somebody making a request and is it coming through this proxy? So as a developer, is that request coming through? And there's one easy way that you can tell, and that's to look for the X forwarded for proxy, or not proxy, HTTP header in your request. So if you see the X-forwarded for, and that's going to have an IP address of an original user who made the request or the original users who made the request. So you can just check to see if that's coming in so that you can find out, hey, who was it who was looking for this particular bit?
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say actually as well is we've got a moderator as well. So if you want to kind of ask questions, we'll pop the link up. We'll pop the link up in a second, and you can ask questions on anything we talked about today. I would say a lot of the data compression proxy, Ilya will be the best person to definitely answer a lot of these if it's very technical and detailed questions. We're just kind of giving you like a little preview at the moment. But whilst we're in this mode of giving you previews, at least this this is the first PNG that we found, the Verge Android logo. It's a PNG file, but as you can see, the actual request type, image/WebP, and that's because the page compression service essentially has actually gone off and done that conversion for you. So it's actually really nice. It's pretty cool. I noticed on my own blog that, and I wasn't actually quite sure exactly what was happening at the time, but I noticed that the actual content ready event fired half a second earlier when I used the actual compression proxy than it did when I wasn't using it. So even on Wi-Fi, it seems to be doing a pretty good thing. But like Pete was saying before, on mobile, this is the potential to actually improve the mobile experience quite a lot. So with that, should we jump on to the Get User Media and WebRTC? Okay, so let's see if this works. I have a file somewhere. Hey, there we are. So this is the Shiny demo. I think it's all done. If you can see my desktop, I'm going to put my hand across it a little bit. You can see it. This is actually on an old Galaxy Nexus at the moment, so it's running a little bit slow, but hello, here we are. There's our producer there. Say hello. That's Ian. So the really great thing about this actually is that this is basically just the normal Get User Media API. It doesn't require anything special, other than the fact that it's actually behind a flag and it's enabled via the WebRTC. So you go to About Flags. If we show it off correctly around this, Chrome. Sorry about this. I've got fat thumbs. While it loads, this is really cool. And has it just gone white? Is it white? It's a white screen, isn't it? There we are. Hey. So it's certainly not optimized just yet, and this is why it's in a flag at the moment. But if you search for WebRTC, there we are. You can enable WebRTC in the Chrome flags, and then you can get access to it. So in this case here, we've got, this is our just normal Galaxy Nexus. It's going to reload. As you can see, it actually says allow, props up, doesn't take access to the camera straight away. And if we scroll down, it's going to take a little while on this screen, at least anyway, because it's not the greatest demo on this machine. Actually, it's a really good demo, it's just on this machine, it's a little bit slow. And if I leave it for a couple of seconds, it'll be fine, but if I switch across to our other demo app, I've actually got it working here. You should say allow. Oh, there we are, it's actually come back, we're fine. It takes a little while to get used to it, but yeah, we have it. So it's pretty cool. We can do a special hangout another time on pure OWP features. We just wanted to let you know that this feature exists. Yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. Pete, do you have anything else to say about kind of Get User Media?
No, I think this is one of these things that I think is really exciting. it's really going to allow us to do as developers a lot more. Like we've been able to play with it on desktop, and we've seen some interesting uses on desktop. Now to actually put it on mobile devices means all of a sudden, we can now start doing things like, I don't know, make video and voice calls without needing any kind of crazy plugin.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff, and it'll be neat to see what folks do with it.
Sorry, I'm just taking pictures of myself. I should have had a shave as well.
Nobody said you weren't humble, so that's
no. Yeah, I kind of like this. I mean, we've been asking for this for a long, long time, and we've had some basic access via the camera app. So if you have input type equals file, accept image /star, content, I think camcorder, it kind of works.
Yeah.
But it's not an integrated experience, right? And I think if we've learned anything from like the likes of like Instagram, for instance, this built-in kind of integrated experience is what people want from their web apps and sites. And this is one of those things, even at a basic level for Get User Media, it's one of those things that's going to be really exciting. Yeah, so I don't know whether it does audio. That's the big question at the moment.
I think it does.
It will do audio with WebRTC, right? But there's no web audio API.
But I wouldn't be surprised if you can't push that through the web audio API yet.
Yeah. Well, we haven't got it, have we? So.
Oh, fair. Tuesday.
I think that's one of the things that is like a little bit unfortunate to some extent, but it's kind of cool. There's going to be a lot of things that come off the back of this. Yeah. And there's the rest of our studio. It's the studio looks cool when we've dressed it up, but when you look at the ceiling, it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I mean, that was it really. I mean, there's not a huge amount of extra features in M26 beta. It's more about kind of improving the performance again, bringing the platform more up to parity, and we're starting to do that with these two new APIs.
Absolutely, and it's also really about trying to get us onto a similar ship schedule, because eventually we want to be on the same schedule, so that like, hey, Chrome gets updated across the board.
Yeah. So should we jump to the moderator? I don't know whether we'll have any questions or not, but
sure. Actually, I think there's one question in there.
Oh, cool. Have you got it up or?
Yeah, I do. So the question is from Bill in Mississauga, and he wants to know if WebGL is still behind a flag.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing to say. So this is the thing. I know the team are really, really keen at the moment to get a lot of feedback around WebGL, WebRTC. If you're going to play with it, we're not trying to push it that much at all. It's very experimental at the moment. Get User Media the same, and the data compression proxy as well. So all three are super experimental. We just thought we'd give it like a little preview right now, because we want your feedback, right? We're not going to push it out, and we're not going to tell you users like, hey, this is going to be enabled just yet and all this type of stuff. And we don't want you guys to do that, but we want you to test and give us a lot of feedback. And that goes for WebGL. I don't think we have a time scale for when WebGL is going to be available. And I think a lot of this hinges on the fact that we want a lot of feedback, right? We don't know, do we know how this performs across all the Nexus range or all the Android range? I don't know whether we do, and we need kind of your experiences to basically test it on mobile, because this is like I think Firefox has had it, the mobile, basically mobile on WebGL on mobile, but the performance characteristics are completely different. So the applications that you design are not going to work like exactly the same on desktop, and you can't cater for it. But we want you to go and test, and that's why it's in the flag, and that's why you can go out and test it. And I think the same applies for CSS filters and some of the hardware acceleration as well. So anything I kind of always think anything that's in flags is fair game to go and test and file bugs and raise issues on.
I agree with that.
Yeah, crbug.com, select Android OS, you raise it, put a link in, either copy me in, Paul Kinlan at Google, or Paul Kinlan at chromium.org, and then we'll get it triaged and we'll get it through to the right people to go and test it. Because ultimately we want these features out.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, like if you're running both the stable and beta, which is what I do on my Nexus 4, I keep both there, and 99% of the time I find myself in beta because that's where I want to be testing, and I only go back to stable if a page doesn't work or if something's a little bit broken, a little bit weird. So I'd encourage people to go turn on the data compression proxy experiment and use beta on the regular basis, right? Figure out how things work. And as well as you're going through, you get a better opportunity to test your sites to see, hey, how are things going to look when we get our next drop?
Yep. Cool. So I think that's probably it. I think we're kind of wrapped up.
Yeah.
There was two major features that we wanted to show you.
Yep.
They kind of worked pretty well. WebRTC, I didn't want to kind of risk it just yet. Just wanted to show you Get User Media. But we want to hear exactly what you guys are working on. We want your feedback on a lot of this stuff. We also want to know what you want to hear about as well in more of these weekly meetings. I believe we've got Jake Archibald on next week. And
Cool.
if we haven't, he's on next week. I've just kind of nominated him for it.
Awesome.
I think we're going to try and talk about dev tools and performance at least. I know Jake's big on those two areas, and it's completely different. It's a completely different game on mobile than it is to desktop. So we're going to show you some nice stuff and show you how to make faster web apps and websites on mobile.
Very cool.
Cool.
All right.
So, well, thank you, Pete, for joining. I know it was
No
early.
problem.
Thank you for everything. And thank you, Ian, for being our producer and kind of waving at the camera when it all happened. Oh, hang on.
Oh, another
Right,
question.
there is another question. Not sure if you're reading the YouTube comments. You're right, I'm not reading the YouTube comments, sorry. Do you know what version the Web Audio API will be shipped to beta and a rough date too? On both those questions, it's Tom Arden in Portsmouth in the UK. I don't have an answer for that. I can speak to Chris Wilson and a couple of other people to see what we might be targeting. But even then, it's not in about flags at the moment. So if it's out 6 months down the line or a year down the line, it's completely changed. I think the important thing to say is that we want to get the same version that's in Chrome for Chrome for desktop, in Chrome for Android. But it's not even in about flags just yet, so I can't even say that we'll get it anytime soon.
Yeah. The one thing I would say, Tom, go to the Chromium bug list, see if you can find that in there, because I'm pretty sure somebody's got that filed as a bug. If they haven't, go file it as a bug, even though I know we're working on it at some point. And then ask other people to star it, because seeing that sort of drive for things and understanding how important it is to developers is really important to us, because we really want to prioritize based on what you find most important.
Yep. Cool. And I think with that, we're done. Thank you very much again. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week when I rope Jake into this. And it'll be fun. I just got to teach him not to swear on camera.
Or we just need to put him on a good 30-second delay with a bleep out button.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
Cool.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.